Chinese President Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping this week is making history and staying on in power.
Did you know that China's President Xi Jinping has a net worth of over $1 billion, yet he still chooses to live a modest lifestyle? But surprisingly, his frugal lifestyle is a far cry from the lavish spending of his predecessors. So what drives the most powerful man in China to live like he's broke?
That the Chinese people watch every step of their leader and they follow what he says to do.
From humble beginnings to anti-corruption crusades, we'll uncover the secrets behind his unassuming approach to power. Stay tuned to discover the intriguing reasons behind Xi's choices and how they're shaping China's future. Xi Jinping's humble beginnings. Before he became one of the most powerful figures in the world, Xi Jinping went from humble beginnings in a modest, low-income Chinese household to living in a cave before he was even an adult. These experiences have greatly shaped the person and leader he has turned out to be, and it's no surprise he is so beloved by the Chinese people. Let's take a look at Xi Jinping's early childhood. Imagine growing up in the heart of Beijing, the son of a powerful revolutionary leader, only to see your world turn upside down at the age of 10. That's how life unfolded for Xi Jinping. The Chinese leader was born on June 15, 1953, to Xi Zhongxun, a great man of influence who rose through the ranks to become vice premier and a key figure in the Chinese Communist Party. But then, the political winds shifted, and that's when the Xi family began facing hard times.
Basically, he was on his own. I think his father was put under house arrest a few years before, and so he was really kind of left as almost like a political orphan.
Xi Jinping was the third child in his family, with two older sisters, Cao Cao and Anan. Their life seemed secure in Beijing, but beneath the surface, China was changing, and so too was the fate of the Xi family.
So it both hardened him, it also gave him a real sense of the ups and downs of power. And I think that's one reason why he's so ruthless himself.
In 1963, when Xi was only 10 years old, everything began to crumble. His once revered political leader father was suddenly purged from the Chinese Communist Party and was sent to work in a remote factory. Why did the party turn on one of its own? The Chinese Cultural Revolution swept through China and toppled high-ranking intellectuals, officials, and anyone who didn't align with the Communist Party's hardline ideologies. For Xi, the revolution cut short his education, as students were encouraged not to learn, but to revolt. The Xi family home was ransacked, and his sister, Xi Heping, was killed. But this was just the beginning. Soon after, Xi's father was branded as an enemy of the revolution, and then publicly denounced, imprisoned, and humiliated. His mother, under immense pressure, was forced to denounce her husband. The once prominent family was now living a nightmare. At just 15 years old, Xi had to make a huge decision that would change his life forever. Would he stay in Beijing, or would he follow the party's call to go down to the countryside? On a cold January day in 1969, took a journey that has been very crucial in keeping him modest and frugal, even after becoming a wealthy and powerful politician. That year, Xi left behind the city lights of Beijing and found himself in the harsh, rugged village of Liangjiahe in Shanxi province. Life there was brutal. The village was backward, poverty-stricken, and far removed from the life he knew. Xi was just a teenager, but he had to grapple with the challenges of rural life, fighting fleas, enduring labor, and surviving with little food. Could someone raised in Beijing adapt to this harsh new reality? Teenage years and political enlightenment. It's almost unbelievable to imagine that the president of all of China spent his teenage years living in a cave in a backwater village. Now, it is being transformed into a theme park-style tourist attraction, as the Chinese leader's past is used to legitimize Communist Party rule.
Where President Xi spent a lot of his teenage years and his early 20s, really, it kind of shaped him as a leader, and it really drove him to fight things like poverty in China, and also gave him that very common touch.
The villagers of Liangjiahe often find themselves telling stories to visitors and tourists about the time a tall, pale teenager worked with them in the fields and slept on a straw mat in a flea-infested cave in their village, and his remarkable journey from that to becoming the president of China. Xi Jinping has shared that his political awakening took place during his time in this remote village, where he was sent as part of Mao Zedong's campaign aimed at immersing educated urban youth in peasant life. In a television interview from 2004, he reflected on how many of his ideas and characteristics were shaped during those crucial years in Liangjiahe. This was where he learned how to be selfless and fight for the greater good of his people and country. That's where he learned how to give up luxury and live a more modest lifestyle. But it wasn't always that way for the teenage Xi. The adjustment was far from easy. After just a few months, the misery of life in the impoverished village of a few dozen houses was too much for the 15-year-old Xi. Longing for his home comforts, he escaped. On his return to Beijing, his mother informed the authorities, and he was caught, arrested during a crackdown, and sent to dig ditches in a work camp as part of a 6-month re-education program. Eventually, he returned to Liangjiahe, but only after being persuaded by his relatives. Despite the struggles, this experience in the countryside would become a defining chapter of Xi's life. Today, the residents of Liangjiahe fondly remember the young Xi Jinping, who worked alongside them during his formative years. They recall him pushing carts of sand, tending crops, and helping construct a dam, all while facing the hardships of rural life. Shi Yuxin, a local villager who joined the Communist Party with Xi in 1974, reminisces, "Back then, life there was very tough. Nobody had enough food and he suffered a lot. He did everything to benefit us. Everything he did was for us villagers." He recalls the emotional moment when Xi left, describing how the young leader cried as he departed. Xi himself reflects on that fateful day in 1975, noting that he awoke to find villagers waiting outside his cave, not wanting to disturb him. He remembered feeling a deep sense of sorrow, admitting, "I cried at that time. It was the second time I cried in 7 years." In recent years, Xi's connection to Liangjiahe has sparked a mini-boom in the local economy. Villagers now offer tourist buggies, sell Xi-themed souvenirs, and serve a president's set meal to the thousands of tourists who flock to the village each day. Additionally, a 45-part drama based on the region is in the works, though it's uncertain whether it will depict Xi's life specifically. During a recent holiday, Liangjiahe attracted over 30,000 visitors, each paying a nominal fee to see the caves where Xi once lived. These caves have been preserved as part of a tourist attraction, featuring items like oil lamps and agricultural tools, which reflect the conditions he faced during his youth. In time, Xi Jinping gained the trust of the villagers in Liangjiahe, where he served as the community's secretary, but still lived in a cave house, much like many residents of the area. For 7 years, he immersed himself in the rural lifestyle, learning about the land and connecting with the rural poor in a way few leaders had before him. This period was crucial in shaping his leadership skills. By 1973, Xi's dedication did not go unnoticed, and he was tasked with leading social education initiatives in neighboring villages. Despite his budding reputation, he faced the challenges of his father's political legacy, which loomed large. Xi's applications to join the Chinese Communist Party were repeatedly rejected about 10 times in total before he was finally accepted in 1974, a testament to his persistence. Once in the party, Xi quickly set to work to make a difference. He introduced biogas technology to address local fuel shortages, drilled wells, and established cooperatives to enhance the local economy. The villagers, who had initially seen him as an outsider, began to recognize him as one of their own. However, this was just the beginning of his journey. In 1975, Xi received a significant opportunity when he was recommended to attend Tsinghua University, one of China's most prestigious educational institutions. He pursued a degree in chemical engineering, combining academic learning with the practical lessons he had absorbed from his rural experiences, preparing him for leadership in a rapidly modernizing China. Xi Jinping's rise from a humble cave-dwelling background to the pinnacle of power reflects a story of transformation, resilience, and survival. His early years laid a foundation for his leadership style and political philosophy, emphasizing the importance of connecting with the populace and addressing their needs. A new memorial hall has been established in Xi Jinping's ancestral home, dedicated to his father, Xi Zhongxun, a prominent figure in the Communist Party. This initiative is part of a broader effort by the ruling Communist Party to portray Xi as an ordinary guy, especially in a climate where many citizens are frustrated with the privileges enjoyed by their leaders. Xi Jinping, the son of a revolutionary hero, is often viewed as a princeling, a term used to describe the offspring of senior Communist Party officials. Despite this background, the narrative of his early life in Liangjiahe, which was marked by hardship, was the foundation for his image as someone who understands the struggles of ordinary people. This chapter of Xi's life was significant, offering him valuable lessons in hardship and resilience, which would later inform his political ideology. His experiences there are often cited as foundational to his leadership style and vision for China. Early political career. In September 1988, Xi Jinping found himself appointed as the secretary of Ningde, a remote and underdeveloped region. At the time, Ningde's economy was in bad shape, far worse than the more prosperous cities of Fuzhou and Xiamen. The task ahead of him seemed daunting. So what did Xi do? Instead of being discouraged, he began meticulously organizing his thoughts and experiences, eventually compiling them into a book titled Getting Out of Poverty. This book wasn't just theory. It was born out of Xi's hands-on work in tackling poverty and strengthening the local Communist Party in Ningde. But that was just the beginning. In May 1990, the Chinese Communist Party, Fujian Provincial Committee, had bigger plans for him. Xi was reassigned to Fuzhou, a major city, as the municipal committee secretary. His rise was starting to gain momentum. By 1997, Xi had been named an alternate member of the 15th CCP Central Committee.
By the Communist Party of China revealed highlights of the four-day gathering. President Xi Jinping, also General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee, delivered the party's work on behalf of the committee's political bureau.
But soon after, an even greater opportunity came knocking. In 1999, he was promoted to the role of vice governor of Fujian, and just 1 year later, he took the top job as governor. During his time in Fujian, Xi's approach was strategic. He reached out to Taiwan, hoping to attract investment, and pushed for the private sector to thrive. His vision for economic growth was bold, but how far would it take him? The answer came in 2002 when Xi left Fujian for the neighboring province of Zhejiang. This was a major step forward. He was quickly placed in key political roles and eventually rose to the top spot as Zhejiang's party committee secretary, marking his first time holding such a powerful provincial position. Under his leadership, Zhejiang's economy surged, reporting an astonishing 14% growth per year. But Xi wasn't just focused on economic success. He was also gaining a reputation as a no-nonsense anti-corruption crusader. His tough stance against corrupt officials made waves throughout China, catching the attention of the nation's top leadership. From 2004 to 2007, Xi's closest advisor during this time was Li Chang, who acted as his chief of staff, solidifying a strong political bond between the two. But his story didn't stop there. In September 2006, the political landscape shifted once again. The party secretary of Shanghai, Chen Liangyu, was removed from office following a massive corruption scandal involving a social security fund. It was a scandal that rocked the nation, and someone needed to step in and restore order. Enter Xi Jinping. By March 2007, he had been transferred to Shanghai and became the new party secretary. His time in Shanghai was short, only 7 months long, but it was a very crucial 7 months. Xi's strategy in Shanghai was simple: keep a low profile, stay out of controversy, and maintain strict party discipline. He even turned down a special train that Shanghai officials had arranged to shuttle him between Shanghai and Hangzhou, reminding everyone that such privileges were reserved only for national leaders. His dedication to the rules earned him respect, and his approach to party unity was clear. There would be no purges under his watch, despite the scandal that had taken down his predecessor. Xi knew exactly how to toe the party line while keeping his eyes on the bigger picture. So, what did all of this mean for Xi Jinping's future? It was becoming increasingly clear that his disciplined, pragmatic, and corruption-fighting image was gaining him the trust of China's highest leaders. What would come next for the man who quietly but steadily climbed the political ladder? Anti-corruption campaign. Xi Jinping's anti-corruption campaign, initiated shortly after he became General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party in 2012, has had a profound impact on Chinese politics.
Xi Jinping has secured a historic third term as a General Secretary of the party.
Aimed at addressing corruption across all government levels, the campaign targeted both low-ranking officials, referred to as flies, and high-ranking elites, known as tigers.
China's leader Xi Jinping launched an aggressive anti-graft campaign, vowing to crack down on what he called tigers and flies, everyone.
This marked a significant shift toward enhanced party discipline and accountability, enabling Xi to consolidate power and reshape the political landscape of China. One of the campaign's most notable aspects was its stringent measures against luxury and extravagance among officials. Xi implemented strict rules to curb lavish spending and ostentatious displays of wealth, reinforcing a message of humility and frugality within the party. The introduction of the 8-point regulation in 2012 set a clear framework, banning luxury travel, minimizing red carpet treatment, and reducing extravagant ceremonies.
And the man leading all of this is Xi Jinping. He tightened his grip on power by promising a corruption-free China. He initiated what is called the Great Purge. More than 1 million officials were sacked. Have you ever wondered who replaced these people who were sacked? Well, Xi Jinping's friends and family, people who have personal or professional ties to the Chinese president.
With a collective net worth exceeding $1 billion, it comes as no surprise that the family of the Chinese president is among the wealthiest in the republic. Some hold the biggest shares in major real estate firms, while others make great strides in various economic sectors, and with each person's net worth likely surpassing the $100 million mark, many have wondered where their wealth comes from and the finest experiences it affords them. But just how rich are these people, and is it more than we've imagined? Join us as we reveal the unseen riches of the Chinese president's family, Xi Qiaoqiao. Driven by ambition and a strategic mind, Xi Qiaoqiao, the older sister of Chinese President Jinping, is a prime example of what lavish living looks like. She has one of the biggest real estate holdings in Shenzhen, a city known for its high-class architecture and booming economy. This feat alone makes her a multimillionaire, raking in millions of dollars each month. She does this alongside her husband Deng Jiagui, both of whom have holdings in the best residential and commercial properties. Given the sheer amount of wealth gotten from this, the total value for the couple's real estate investments go well over $100 million.
Property development helped fuel China and the world's economic growth for 30 years. By some estimates, property in China was worth $60 trillion at its peak, making it the biggest asset class in the world.
And given how that only covers aspects of the investments that have been disclosed to the public, chances are that the real value could be much more than that. That aside, Qiaoqiao also owns a villa in Repulse Bay, and this property that cost almost $20 million in 2009. By adjusting for inflation, chances are the current value would be over 40% higher than how much it was back then. But despite how expensive it is, the famous villa stands as just one out of the several high-end properties she has acquired over the years, with a combined value going far above $100 million today. Adding this to the total value of the real estate ventures, we are looking at total wealth and real estate properties that are most likely worth over $250 million. This sounds insane on so many levels, but we are just getting started. Qiaoqiao's wealth goes far beyond the many things she owns, arguably reflecting the most in her very disciplined yet outlandish spending habits. Calling all her travels first class is even an understatement. She only shops at the most lavish of places while accompanied by exclusive designers, and only attends the most elite social events put up in the Republic. On top of that, she also enjoys frequently resting in 5-star hotels with her husband, eating at the most expensive restaurants, and only participating in social gatherings organized by the best private firms available. Chow Chow's huge pockets are also reflected in her lifestyle, with regular visits to the best luxury spas and keeping up with a wide variety of luxury cars for casual cruises. Her daily routines are marked by comfort and luxury, with these average experiences setting her apart from most people. Even with this, Xi Chaoqiu does her best to maintain a low profile at all times, often choosing to experience the best things of life behind closed doors. She only shows off her wealth whenever she aligns her business with philanthropy, contributing to society in ways people never dreamed of. One good example was her contribution to the devastating Sichuan earthquake in 2008.
It's been more than 2 weeks since that magnitude 7.9 earthquake devastated parts of China, and people are still being evacuated from their homes in some of these affected areas.
Thanks to Chow Chow's assistance, many who lost their homes got them back, and all the schools that got destroyed were rebuilt in a matter of weeks. 7 years later, she would be known for sponsoring the 2015 healthcare project in Guangdong, an initiative which led to the huge surge in average maternal healthcare in the area from that moment moving forward. Peng Liyuan, blessed with never-ending confidence and elegance, the Chinese president's wife isn't just known for her exceptional singing skills, but also for her extensive collection of custom-made clothes. She features the best pieces made by the best designers with a wardrobe boasting a wide collection of Chinese silk brocade jackets and stylish accessories. Simply put, her fashion sense is so premium that regular stores can't afford what she likes anymore. Beyond her impressive fashion sense, Peng has access to the best properties money can buy. One of these properties is the famous Beijing residence, located in the famous Zhongnanhai complex. It is equipped with the best facilities in the world, including the most expensive furnishings and additional features like beautiful gardens and luxurious art pieces. While nobody knows the exact net worth of the property, it is well known that properties in that area are arguably the most expensive in the Republic. By conservative estimates, each property could be well over $25 million, but that only scratches the surface when covering the many things owned by the Chinese First Lady. She owns yet another property, this time in Shenzhen.
Shenyang. This region is China's Rust Belt. It's also home to an estate of concrete crumbling villas on a scale hard to comprehend.
A city known for its exceptional economic growth and high-class architecture. This property is none other than the Shenzhen Villa, a luxurious place with an upward cost of $10 million. Villas in the area are known for having the best designs, private pools, and expansive structures, and it's fair to say that the First Lady's property is no exception. That aside, she also owns an upscale apartment in Shanghai, a city known for having the most expensive real estate properties in the world. Most high-end apartments in this area go well beyond $5 million in cost, offering the most stunning views and top-notch facilities money can buy. As if that wasn't enough, Peng also enjoys occasional retreats on Hainan Island, a place known for its tropical experience and luxury resorts. Properties in this area reach well over $10 million, and it's where she goes during breaks to enjoy her definition of the average life, free from the many duties and struggles of being the First Lady. Her lifestyle is mostly paying many visits to high-profile events and state visits. She mostly accompanies her husband in these trips, and though they are mostly put up as diplomatic missions, they are also great opportunities to indulge in the best experiences. An example of this was her visit to the United States in 2015. Though the reason for this visit was to build diplomacy, she had the privilege of touring the famous Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center before attending an exclusive state dinner at the White House.
China's First Lady was warmly welcomed by the center's director, Dr. Gary Gilliland, as well as Bill and Melinda Gates.
But don't let her lavish lifestyle and exclusive tastes fool you. Inside reports show that Peng Liyuan maintains a strict workout routine, also sticking to an exclusive diet and skincare regimen at all times. Those close to her tell of how much she values personal health and beauty, often supporting many charitable cases that support both values. Impressive by all means, but not as great as her brothers. Wu Long, perhaps another impressive member of the large family, is Wu Long, the brother-in-law of Jinping. He stands out in a lot of ways from the other members of the extended family, as a lot of his wealth had little to do with having ties with political figures. Majority of his wealth comes from his great strides in various businesses, most especially in the communications sector. His biggest achievement in this area was with New Postcom, a company that was tasked with supplying phones to China Mobile in exchange for a huge contract worth millions. This accomplishment alone put Long's company on the map in ways his shareholders never dreamed of, effectively declaring New Postcom as a huge player in the communication industry. Apart from that, Long has spread out his investments in different sectors, all of which have brought huge returns too large to be disclosed. With the extra wealth, he invested more in real estate properties, a common investment strategy among the richest people in the country. Returns were great, and his company was booming, setting him as one of the wealthiest people in the sector. But despite all these achievements, Long follows the same path as most others in the family, keeping a low profile at all times and only showing up in public settings when the business requires him to. As of October 2024, conservative estimates put his net worth as just below $200 million, but a close analysis suggests it might be much more than that, given how many properties he now owns that have not been revealed to the public. This, however, is a far cry from the next person in the family, Xi Mingze. While her father is known for sporting the exclusive $8 million Hongqian 701, Mingze prefers to keep travel on a low key. The 32-year-old's personal life and spending habits are marked by blending privacy with luxury. Though she prefers to keep a low profile, she still tries to enjoy the best things life has to offer. Like her mother, she too has an absurd collection of high-end fashion and accessories. Most of them are brought in from exclusive designers, but the main difference is her preference for modern clothing. While her mother sticks a lot with traditional Chinese clothes with a touch of modern luxury, Mingze leans into a more Western style, even when she dons traditional clothes. These unique designs make her stand out, but not a lot, as she still maintains a touch of cultural heritage in everything she goes out with. Her education came from the best schools her parents could think of, among which was the famous Harvard University.
The Western influence. Guess where Xi Jinping sent his only child to study? Harvard University. The admission was followed by millions of dollars in Chinese funding.
As many might expect, she moved about discreetly but not without bodyguards. While her parents are known for making great strides in politics and philanthropy, Mingze mostly focuses on her personal health and well-being, often avoiding the limelight as much as she can. She enjoys reading and engaging in cultural pursuits, both of which give her the best sense of fulfillment and relaxation. Her commitment to cultural pursuits also involves philanthropy, as she too has contributed to many relief efforts and public initiatives over the years. But while her efforts made a lot of impact, they pale in comparison with those of her father, Xi Jinping. Of course, we can't discuss the family's wealth without addressing the man himself, Xi Jinping. Despite being one of the most powerful leaders in the world,
this is the new reality for the Chinese leader Xi Jinping, who now stands alongside Chairman Mao in the pantheon of the country's iconic leaders.
The shocking truth is his personal wealth and lifestyle aren't as lavish as many people think. Compared to the spending habits of his wife, siblings, and extended relatives, the Chinese president almost looks like the new kid on the block. Official estimates put his net worth as just over $1 million, a statement most people find hard to believe. Adding that to his reported annual salary of just almost $20,000, it seems the leader tries hard to exemplify the equitable wealth ideology the country officially identifies with, but don't let these reports fool you. Just like the other members of his family, he too enjoys the best things life has to offer. As President of the Republic, he sports the highly coveted Hongqian 701, a custom-armored limousine known to many as the Red Flag. It has the best security systems money can buy, with interior furnishings and luxurious designs made exclusively for the car, but that's not all. Powered by the famous V12 engine, the Red Flag boasts a great amount of power the highest-performing sports cars struggle to catch up with, along with the best kits built in to ensure stability. In fact, the car is so stable that one wouldn't know the vehicle was moving without looking outside. Speed bumps are barely noticeable, even when the vehicle is moving at maximum speed at over 150 miles an hour. Beyond using an exclusive vehicle money alone can't buy, the Chinese president also stands out by his understated yet sophisticated clothes. He often wears only custom-made suits woven from fabrics of the highest quality, designed to fit perfectly once they are put on. Custom-tailored suits made by the best designers in China typically range from $2,000 to $5,000, and there are no rules implying the ones made for the president are an exception. This standard was most evident during the 2022 Winter Olympics, when he was seen wearing a higher outerwear brand known as the Arc'teryx Thorson Parka. At the time, it was priced at just over $1,000. What made it so special was that it marked one of the few times the president didn't wear a custom-made fabric. This effectively meant the material could easily be found at local luxury shops. As expected, it sold out in just a few days after the president was seen wearing it. Other clothes he has been known for wearing include the $3,000 Mao suit and the $2,000 Tang suit, both of which he wears during traditional holidays and cultural events. A lot of his wealth can be linked to his family, a group of people who thrived much better than those before them and prevailed gracefully.
The scientific community has been buzzing with theories attempting to explain this anomaly.
Could cause to our planet and humanity at large. The public's fear manifested itself in different ways, and all of these accumulated into legal action. Several lawsuits were filed to stop the LHC's activation, most notably by Walter L. Wagner, a former nuclear safety officer, and Luis Sancho, a Spanish science writer. They argued in court that the LHC posed an existential threat to the planet. Their case was based largely on the fears of black holes, strangelets, and other catastrophic scenarios. Meanwhile, protests took place outside CERN's headquarters and in other parts of Europe, with activists calling for the project to be halted until all safety concerns were addressed. In response to that, CERN itself came out with several reassurances based on scientific evidence and expert analysis. First, they explained that while the LHC is indeed the most powerful particle accelerator ever built, the energy levels it produces are still far below those that naturally occur in the universe. Cosmic rays, which are high-energy particles from space, regularly collide with Earth's atmosphere at much higher energies than those generated by the LHC, yet no harm has ever come from these natural processes. If these cosmic collisions haven't caused any dangerous phenomena, it is highly unlikely that the LHC would. Second, regarding fears of black holes, CERN clarified that if miniature black holes were to be produced in the LHC, they would pose no threat. According to well-established physics, any microscopic black holes that might form would evaporate almost instantly due to a process known as Hawking radiation. These black holes would be incredibly unstable and would disintegrate in a fraction of a second, making them harmless. Similarly, concerns about strangelets, hypothetical particles that could potentially convert normal matter into strange matter, were addressed by pointing out that there was no evidence for the existence of strangelets. According to CERN, even if they were produced, theoretical studies suggested they would not lead to any dangerous reactions. They even conducted extensive safety reviews with independent panels of scientists who concluded that the LHC posed no credible threat to humanity or the planet. The European Organization for Nuclear Research reassured the public that the experiments carried out at the LHC were safe, and that the fears were rooted in misunderstandings of the science involved. But even this didn't ease the public's anxiety.
The world's most powerful fusion plant, Jet Fusion, in Culham in Oxfordshire. It is, say the team here, a landmark for this technology.
To make matters worse, even the lawsuits that had gained attention were dismissed in court both by a U.S. federal judge and by the European Court of Human Rights. Still, small groups of people continued to voice concerns about the potential long-term risks of these experiments. For some, the LHC symbolizes humanity's ambition to understand the universe, but for others, it remains a reminder of how little we know about the cosmos and how far we might accidentally push its limits. It is this concern, alongside the scientists' need to create a mechanism for the sole study and understanding of the Higgs boson particles, that made scientists and even mere scholars give special attention to the CEPC project when it was introduced. Could this single innovation ease the public's anxiety while giving scientists the long-awaited results? Yes, that was the most exciting part, and it made many speculate that given its capabilities, it could lead to the ultimate shutdown of CERN if care is not taken. To simplify this complex situation, we'll have to look into its potentials independently, starting with it being the long-awaited cure to the public's fears of a catastrophic human end due to high-risk scientific experiments. The Circular Electron-Positron Collider as the ultimate solution to LHC's high-energy challenges. The Large Hadron Collider, as we know, is a huge particle accelerator that smashes protons together at incredibly high speeds. The energy produced in those proton collisions is massive, way more than what's needed to study most of the particles and physics we already know about. It was originally built to explore realms of physics that haven't been fully mapped out yet, which explains the high amount of energy used in its operations. This high-energy environment at the LHC raised the concern that the crazy amount of energy could potentially create something really strange, like little black holes or weird new forms of matter that might even destroy the world. On the other hand, the CEPC is different, because it is designed to work with electron-positron collisions, not proton collisions, at a lower energy of 240 gigaelectron volts, which is much less than LHC's, and because it is much more focused on exploring the known particles and forces we've already discovered, its experiments are much more controlled and predictable. Also, electron-positron collisions are cleaner and simpler because the particles involved are fundamental, meaning they don't break into bits of other particles like protons do. The energy levels needed for its experiments are far below the threshold where any of the catastrophic scenarios speculated for the LHC could even occur, which is to say that whether theoretically or practically, with the CEPC, the risks of creating anything like black holes or strangelets happening are extremely minimal to non-existent. Now, apart from this welcome development enabled by the CEPC, the major potentials of the CEPC, which scientists claim could overthrow the LHC and any other CERN innovations, while solidifying China's place as the leader in particle physics, is what we're going to reveal next. But first, what is the CEPC, and how does it plan to achieve this? The potentials of the Circular Electron-Positron Collider. The Circular Electron-Positron Collider, CEPC, is an exciting new project proposed by the Chinese particle physics community that aims to enhance our understanding of the fundamental laws of the universe, particularly the properties of the Higgs boson and other elementary particles. The CEPC will be constructed in China and will feature a massive circular underground tunnel that is approximately 100 kilometers in circumference. It is designed as a double-ring collider, which means that it will have two separate beam pipes where electrons and positrons.
What happens here is we have two vacuum pipes inside these magnets, and in the vacuum pipes we have two beams of protons going in opposite directions.
The antimatter counterparts of electrons will circulate in opposite directions. The collider will have two interaction points where the beams will collide, and these points will host the detectors for various experiments. The CEPC has three primary goals. First and foremost, according to Andrew Cohen, a currently serving theoretical physicist at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, the collider is expected to generate over 1 million Higgs bosons during its operational phase, which is planned to last for around 10 years. This abundance of Higgs particles will allow physicists to study their properties in great detail, leading to a deeper understanding of this fundamental building block of the universe. In addition to studying the Higgs boson, the CEPC will delve into the intricacies of the Z and W bosons.
As opposed to trying to measure the mass of the Z boson, the other particle that transmits the weak interaction, which is like trying to measure the length of a stick by holding it at both ends with both hands.
These particles play a crucial role in the electro-weak interaction, one of the four fundamental forces that govern the behavior of matter and energy. When the CEPC operates at the Z-pole, which corresponds to a collision energy of around 91 gigaelectron volts, it will enable scientists to conduct highly precise measurements of the Z boson's mass and its various decay patterns. This includes examining the interaction between the Z boson and bottom quarks. By producing an astounding 1 trillion Z bosons, the CEPC will provide an unprecedented wealth of data for these investigations, allowing researchers to gain a deeper understanding of how the Z boson behaves and interacts with other fundamental particles. The CEPC will also function as a W factory, generating around 100 million W bosons during its operational phase. The W boson is another key player in the world of particle physics, as it is responsible for one of the fundamental forces of nature, known as the weak force. By precisely measuring the W boson's mass and the various ways it can decay, the CEPC will contribute invaluable insights into the unification of the different forces that govern the universe, a long-standing goal in particle physics research. Apart from studying the already existing particles, it's also going to explore some of the biggest mysteries in the universe, one of which could lead to the discovery of something called supersymmetry. The idea behind supersymmetry is that for every single particle we're familiar with, like the electrons, quarks, and force carriers that make up the standard model of particle physics, there could be a brand new, unseen partner particle out there. On a normal scale, these supersymmetric partner particles are incredibly difficult to spot, especially at colliders like the LHC that smash protons together, because of the close resemblance of their mass to other existing particle masses. However, with the CEPC, which is an electron-positron collider, researchers will be given a much cleaner environment to search for the signatures of these supersymmetric particles.
The people of China finally saw their president in public. Xi Jinping has been vocal but not visible during this outbreak. This afternoon, he decided to visit this community in Beijing.
A family's worst nightmare came true when their son was diagnosed with a rare, life-threatening disease, and no one could help. Desperate for a miracle and with nowhere else to turn, they did the unthinkable. They reached out to the president of China for help. And what happened next shocked the entire world. But how did the president respond to their cry for help? What action did he take that made this story go viral worldwide? Join us as we delve into this heart-wrenching story that captured the attention of millions. You don't want to miss this. The hopeless situation. Michael and his wife Sarah sat by their son Oliver's bed in a cold, quiet hospital room. The room was filled with the sounds of beeping machines, but to them, everything fell silent. Oliver, their little boy, was very sick. His body was weak, and he lay still, connected to tubes and wires. The doctors had tried every treatment they could think of, but nothing worked. Now, they were left with one final option: palliative care. It was a word that meant there was no cure or care to keep Oliver comfortable in his last days. Michael sat next to his son, holding his small, limp hand. He watched Oliver's breath, knowing each one could be his last. His heart felt heavy, like it was breaking. His son, once full of life and energy, was slipping away, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. Sarah sat on the other side of the bed, her eyes red from crying, staring at the machines as if waiting for a miracle. The room felt empty, not just because of the plain white walls and bright lights, but because of the deep sadness that filled the air. Michael felt lost. The doctors had told them to prepare for the worst. He thought about all the memories they had shared with Oliver. His first laugh, his first time riding a bike, all the little moments that seemed so far away now. Michael tried to stay strong, but the weight was crushing him. He had never felt so powerless. They had tried everything, but nothing worked. There was no cure for Oliver's illness, no more treatments, no more hope. Or was there? Eventually, as days passed in the hospital, hope began to fade for Michael and Sarah. Their son, Oliver, showed no signs of getting better, and the doctors had already told them there was nothing more they could do. The family felt trapped, their world closing in as they watched their boy slip further away. Michael, sitting by Oliver's bedside, felt utterly helpless. He couldn't stand the thought of losing his child, but they had tried everything, and nothing had worked. One evening, all one could hear were the sounds of the machines that filled the room, but Michael's mind raced. He thought about all the treatments they had tried, all the doctors they had seen, but there had to be something more. There had to be someone, somewhere, who could help. That's when a wild idea crossed his mind, a thought that seemed outrageous, but it felt like the only option left in that moment of desperation. Michael turned to Sarah and said, "What if we reach out to someone powerful, someone who can really make a difference?" Michael thought for a moment, then said something that shocked her. "What if we contact the president of China?" No doubt, it seemed like an impossible idea, but the idea was conceived due to what Michael had seen online one night. Late one night, after another exhausting day at the hospital, Michael found himself scrolling mindlessly through social media. He wasn't really looking for anything, just trying to distract his mind from the reality of his son's illness. Michael's heart was heavy with fear and sorrow, but he couldn't stop hoping for a miracle. As he scrolled through videos and news clips, one caught his eye, a speech by the president of China. It wasn't what Michael usually watched, but something about it drew him in. In the video, the Chinese president talked about his commitment to helping terminally ill children. He spoke with passion about the importance of giving every child a chance, no matter how difficult their situation. The president mentioned medical advancements and how China was pushing the boundaries of science to try and save those who had been given no hope. Michael's heart started racing as he listened. He had never imagined reaching out to someone so high up, but now the idea didn't seem so crazy. After all, they had tried everything else, and Oliver was getting worse by the day. Michael felt a wave of doubt, but the more he thought about it, the more he realized he had nothing to lose. Maybe, just maybe, this was the miracle he had been praying for. With his heart pounding and hands shaking, Michael grabbed his phone and started writing. He didn't know how to begin, but knew he had to try. He started typing a message, pouring his heart out, explaining their situation, and begging for help. He wrote about Oliver's illness, their failed treatments, and how they were running out of time. His words were filled with emotion, fear, hope, and desperation as he explained that he was reaching out as a last attempt, hoping for anything that could save his son. As he wrote, tears filled his eyes. This was his last shot, his final plea for help. Michael hit the send button with a deep breath and without much hesitation. For him, it was a moment of pure vulnerability, sending a message to one of the most influential leaders in the world, hoping beyond hope that he would listen. Michael didn't know what would happen next, but he felt a spark of hope for the first time in a long time. Maybe, just maybe, the president would hear his plea. Perhaps this would be the moment that changed everything for his family. And as the hours passed, Michael sat by Oliver's bed, waiting. Little did he know, this message would soon go viral, capturing the attention of millions. But this is where you find out if they received a positive response. What do you think? Let's find out. The president's response. Days passed after Michael sent his heartfelt message to the president of China, Xi Jinping. He didn't expect much. After all, what were the chances that a world leader would even see his plea, let alone respond? But for Michael, this was his last hope. Every day, as he sat by Oliver's hospital bed, he would check his phone, just in case. He couldn't shake the small glimmer of hope that someone might somehow read his message and help his son. Then, one afternoon, something happened that Michael never expected. His phone buzzed with a notification, but this wasn't just any message. It was an official email from a representative of the Chinese government. Michael's hands shook as he opened it, his heart pounding. The email was brief, but the message was clear. The president had read his plea and was moved by the family's situation. He wanted to help. Michael could hardly believe what he was reading. The president of China, one of the most influential people in the world, had seen his message and was willing to get involved. He wondered what had made him take notice of a tiny family in such a big world. However, the answer was in the president's own words. He had always been a strong advocate for children's health care, especially for those facing terminal illnesses. The president had spoken many times about giving every child a fighting chance, no matter where they came from. When he read about Oliver's story, it struck a chord with him. He saw not just a sick child, but a chance to make a difference, to save a life, and show the world that hope can come from the most unexpected places. But more than that, the president understood the weight of a parent's love. He had his own children, and he knew the lengths any parent would go to save their child. Michael's plea wasn't just a desperate cry for help, it was a reflection of every parent's worst fear, losing a child. The president felt a personal connection to that fear, which moved him to act. So he quickly set the wheels in motion. First, he contacted China's top medical experts, asking them to review Oliver's case. These were some of the best doctors and scientists in the world, with access to cutting-edge treatments and technology that wasn't available anywhere else. The president ordered them to look into every possible option, whether experimental or costly. But as if that was not enough, the president went on to do something that Michael described as extraordinary. One evening, as Michael sat by Oliver's bed, his phone rang. The caller ID showed an international number, and for a moment he hesitated, but something inside him told him to pick it up. On the other end of the line was a representative from the Chinese government. They explained that President Xi Jinping had received Michael's message and had been deeply moved by his story. What came next surprised Michael. The president wanted to speak with them directly. Michael's heart raced. He had never imagined this kind of response. Speaking with President Xi Jinping felt surreal, but at that moment, all he cared about was his son and the possibility of help. A few hours later, the phone rang again. This time, it was the president. Michael could hardly believe it as he heard the calm, authoritative voice of Xi Jinping on the other end of the line. The president spoke slowly, choosing his words carefully. He introduced himself and said he had been deeply touched by Michael's letter. He acknowledged the unbearable pain of watching a child suffer and said he wanted to offer his support. Holding back tears, Michael thanked the president for taking the time to speak with him. He explained Oliver's condition, how the doctors had done everything they could but had reached the point where they could no longer offer hope for a cure. Xi Jinping listened intently, his compassion clear in his tone when he said, "I understand that you have tried everything, and I can feel how much you love your son. I want to do whatever I can to help, even to ensure Oliver's remaining days are as peaceful as possible." Michael was overwhelmed. He had expected nothing more than perhaps a polite reply from an assistant, but here was the president of China, offering genuine support. Xi Jinping explained that he had spoken to some of the top doctors in China, and that while Oliver's condition was severe, he would do everything he could to ensure the family had access to the best care available. President Xi Jinping promised to arrange for a medical team to review Oliver's case, and even though the chances of a cure were slim, he wanted to ensure that Oliver was as comfortable as possible. He also spoke of sending palliative care specialists who could work with the hospital to make Oliver's final days as peaceful and pain-free as they could be. His concern wasn't just for Oliver's health, but for the entire family's emotional well-being. At that moment, Michael felt a sense of relief wash over him. While he knew there might not be a cure for his son, the fact that someone as powerful as President Xi Jinping was willing to step in to offer help and compassion made him feel less alone. It wasn't just about the medical help. The kindness and acknowledgement of their suffering made all the difference. As the call continued, Sarah joined Michael, and the president spoke to both of them, expressing his deepest sympathy for their situation. He reassured them that they would have the full support of the Chinese government in making sure Oliver's last days were filled with as much love and comfort as possible. What's more, before ending the call, Xi Jinping made one final promise. "No matter what happens, please know that you have touched my heart. Oliver's story is now a part of me, and I will follow it closely. My team will remain in contact with you, and we will help however we can." Eventually, when the call ended, Michael and Sarah sat in stunned silence. They couldn't believe what had just happened. The president of China, one of the most influential people in the world, had spoken with them personally, offering not only help, but also emotional support in their darkest hour. The days that followed were full of activity. True to his word, President Xi Jinping's team worked swiftly. They coordinated with the hospital's doctors, ensuring that Oliver's care was improved. Specialized equipment and medication were provided to keep him comfortable, and a palliative care team was flown in to assist. Even though the president knew that Oliver's condition was dire, he wanted to ensure that the boy and his family would experience moments of comfort and happiness, even in the hardest of times. President Xi first arranged for Oliver to be moved to a private, cozy room in the hospital. The room was unlike the cold, sterile space they had been in before. It was warm, with soft lighting and calming colors. There were comfortable chairs for Michael and Sarah to sit in, and Oliver's bed was now covered with soft blankets. Small touches like this made the space feel less like a hospital and more like a peaceful resting place. This room wasn't just about medical care, but about creating an environment where the family could feel peace during such a difficult time. But President Xi didn't stop there. He knew how important it was to lift Oliver's spirits and his parents' spirits, so he quietly organized something even more special. His team arranged for a small celebration just for Oliver. It wasn't a grand event, but precisely what the family needed. The celebration was simple but filled with thoughtfulness. There were balloons in Oliver's favorite colors, small gifts, and even a cake. The hospital staff, who had grown close to the family, joined the celebration. They gathered around with smiles, sharing in this rare moment of happiness. The room was filled with laughter and warmth for the first time in a long while. And then, something magical happened. Oliver smiled. It was the first smile Michael and Sarah had seen from him in what felt like forever. Seeing their son happy, even for just a brief moment, brought tears to their eyes. For that one afternoon, the weight of their pain seemed to lift, even if just a little. In that cozy room, surrounded by the love and care arranged by President Xi Jinping, they felt a glimmer of joy that they hadn't experienced in a long time. President Xi Jinping succeeded in providing something priceless, hope and relief, even if it was just for a short time. As the day ended and the celebration wound down, Michael and Sarah sat by Oliver's bedside, feeling a sense of peace they hadn't felt in months. The smile on Oliver's face reminded them that even in the most challenging moments, kindness and compassion could create joy. And for that, they will forever be grateful to President Xi Jinping. But what if I tell you that more than the medical support, the family was moved by the outpouring of kindness and love worldwide? The story goes viral. Within hours of the post being shared across social media, people worldwide began sharing Michael's message, and soon, the story of Oliver's battle and President Xi Jinping's involvement was going viral. Word of the president's participation spread quickly, and soon, people from around the world reached out to the family, sending messages of love, support, and prayers. Michael and Sarah were overwhelmed by the global response. People couldn't believe a world leader had stepped in to help one family in their darkest hour. It was a story of hope, courage, and compassion. And just as expected, the story quickly caught the media's attention. Journalists began reaching out to Michael and Sarah, wanting to know more about their experience. News outlets from different countries started covering the story, highlighting how President Xi Jinping had personally stepped in to help a dying child and his family. Headlines were filled with phrases like, "President Xi's compassionate act," and "a father's desperate plea," answered by a world leader. As the media coverage grew, so did the response from people worldwide. The hashtag #HopeForOliver started trending online, and thousands of people joined in the conversation. Some shared their own stories of struggles with illness. In contrast, others were inspired by the idea that even in difficult times, acts of kindness could make a huge difference. People from all walks of life started rallying behind the family. Donations began pouring in, with some offering financial support to help cover medical costs, and others sending small gifts or notes of encouragement. Communities formed online, united by the desire to help Oliver and his family through unimaginable pain. Artists drew pictures of Oliver, while musicians dedicated songs to him. Some people even began organizing events in their local areas to raise awareness for families like Oliver's, who were fighting battles against terminal illness. But what made this story go viral wasn't just the tragedy of a young boy's illness. It involved President Xi Jinping. The idea that a world leader would take time out of his busy schedule to help a family in need resonated with millions. People saw it as a powerful example of what leadership should be, not just about politics or power, but about showing empathy and compassion, especially to those who need it the most. President Xi Jinping's actions sparked a global conversation. Many people began discussing the role of world leaders and whether more should be done to help families facing medical crises. Others shared stories of how small acts of kindness changed their lives. The story wasn't just about Oliver anymore. It had grown into something much bigger, a symbol of hope and the power of human connection. As the story continued to spread, more and more media outlets covered it. Major news channels interviewed Michael and Sarah, who spoke about the overwhelming support they were receiving. They talked about how President Xi Jinping had given them a sense of peace in a time of chaos, and how the community that had rallied around them had made them feel less alone in their struggle. The outpouring of love from people they had never met touched the family. Every message, every donation, and every shared story lifted their spirits. It made them feel like they were part of something bigger. They were no longer just a family facing a tragic situation. They were at the center of a global movement about compassion, kindness, and hope. Meanwhile, President Xi Jinping's name became even more prominent in the conversation. His involvement in the story was praised by people worldwide, with many seeing him as a leader who truly cared about his people and their well-being. The story had turned into a global sensation, not just because of Oliver's brave fight, but because of the president's unexpected, heartfelt response. The more the story spread, the more people wanted to get involved. Social media platforms were flooded with posts from people who had been moved by the story, and soon, it wasn't just individuals reaching out, it was entire organizations. Charities began offering support to families going through similar situations, and medical professionals from around the world started discussing how they could provide better care for terminally ill children. Oliver's story had become more than just a viral sensation. It sparked conversations about healthcare, leadership, and the importance of community. It showed the world that there is always room for kindness and compassion, even in the darkest times. President Xi Jinping's involvement has inspired millions, proving that no act of kindness is too small, and that even the most powerful people in the world can make a difference in the lives of ordinary families. As the story grew, Michael and Sarah were overwhelmed with gratitude. They had started out feeling completely alone, facing the unimaginable pain of losing their son. But now, thanks to President Xi Jinping's kindness and the support of people worldwide, they feel surrounded by love and hope, and they would carry that with them for the rest of their lives. Though Michael and Sarah knew their time with their son was running out, they clung to every moment they had left. Despite the sadness that hung over them, that room also had an incredible sense of love. Thankfully, President Xi Jinping remained in contact with the family and offered ongoing support. He knew that little could be done to save Oliver. Still, he wanted to ensure the family felt cared for during this heartbreaking period. Every day, a member of his team checked in on them, providing comfort and any resources they might need. President Xi ensured they never felt alone, even though they were going through one of the most challenging moments of their lives. As the days passed, Oliver's health continued to decline. He grew weaker, and his once bright eyes were now exhausted. But through it all, Michael and Sarah stayed by his side, holding his hand, speaking softly to him, and trying to make every moment count. President Xi Jinping's team ensured Oliver's room was peaceful and quiet, where he could rest comfortably and be surrounded by the people who loved him the most. Even though President Xi was thousands of miles away, his presence was felt in the room. Michael and Sarah still couldn't believe that someone so powerful had taken such a personal interest in their son's life. Knowing that President Xi cared about Oliver and was doing everything he could to support their family brought them a sense of peace. President Xi Jinping and the global community have undoubtedly given the family a sense of closure. They knew they had done everything they could for their son and shared his final moments wrapped in love, not just from their family, but from people worldwide. In his final days, Oliver was surrounded by love, not just from his family, but from people around the globe who had been touched by his story. And though his life was short, it had a meaning at the end. That brings us to the end of this video. Share your thoughts about President Xi's involvement in Oliver's case. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click on the following video. You will enjoy it.